Good morning, Facebook. Thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live. I'm Saquon.
I'm Scott again. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Don't forget, you can always watch this, listen to this on your own time by visiting us on our InForum YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast platform. It's, of course, a really good way to get you started as you head out the door. And you can also find us on inforum.com/podcast under InForum Minute.
Yeah, so one of the big headlines we've been following this morning is this potential nurse strike over in Minnesota. And Say, you were out live on location this morning talking about that. So you're kind of the expert here. Give us a little rundown of what exactly is going on, because it's a big story.
Yeah, so all throughout this week, really for, a long time now, it seems like we've been talking about the Minnesota Nurses Association not coming to an agreement, and they've been trying to negotiate some new contracts since March. So we're talking about 15,000 nurses, a little bit more than that, who are on the line here of going on another strike. If you recall, they did go on a strike back in September, but now they did vote to authorize that. So you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, the strike is probably going to happen as soon as tomorrow. Well, we have a little bit more time because the MNA basically needs to notify hospitals 10 days before they actually decide to strike. So still some time, but again, I've been stressing that there's not much time. We don't know how much or how soon they could do that. So right now, of course, that vote basically is giving just union leaders the power to give that notice if they're ready for that. Today, actually, they're going to be having a little public press conference. So they're going to be doing the Twin Cities area hospitals at 9 o'clock this morning. For Duluth, Superior, Two Harbors area, they're going to be doing that at 10 o'clock this morning. And they're really going to just be focusing on the results of that vote, what they want to do with that moving forward. Another really interesting tidbit, really quick, that I want to add in there is the MNA sent us an email, and it showed a graphic. We looked at this together this morning, and it gave kind of like a side-by-side comparison on how much a hospital CEO is making right now compared to an average registered nurse. And at the very top, I think it was Fairview Health, I believe, and the CEO there was making $3.5 million every single year. So that's how much that CEO is taking, whereas the pay ratio to an average nurse was 40-1, meaning we did the math together, Scott, and we saw that the CEO was making 40 times more than the average nurse that works at that same health system.
Which kind of breaks down to like $75,000 a year.
Yeah, and so
compared to the $3.5 million.
Right. And seeing that in big picture really lays out why they would be, pointing fingers at hospital leaders and CEOs. And they're really trying to say, these CEOs are failing us right now. So that's what they're pointing to, when it comes to that sticking point, that argument, and of course, a reason as to why they decided to vote for this strike. So, of course, we will continue to update you. Obviously, we could learn even more information through this press conference today. So we'll keep you updated.
And one question for you on that, Say, I know you were live in Moorhead this morning. Is the facilities in Moorhead, do you know if they're being affected by this?
Great question. So we were out live at Essentia Health in Moorhead because Essentia Health is part of a health system that's taking part in this strike. But Moorhead nurses will not be affected, and actually none of our nurses really here in our neck of the woods are going to be affected by this. So good news, obviously, here in our viewing area, but of course this is going to be affecting a lot of people in the Twin Cities and Duluth area.
That's for sure. Thanks, Say.
Yeah.
All right, another breaking news story we're following this morning. It was a car crash in North Fargo this morning. It happened on Elm Street just after 5 o'clock this morning. You were live on scene for this one as well. Kind of a busy morning for you, Say. We had some footage of the car. It was pretty damaged. What happened was it flipped over, and the police tell us that it hit like a brick mailbox and flipped on its side and then rolled onto its top, which is kind of crazy. If you watch our shows later today, you can check out that video.
Also, if you want to head over to my social media, my Facebook page later after this, I did post a clip of what that looked like. So it's a good visual there.
Yeah, absolutely. Check that out. The good news out of that whole deal is no one was seriously hurt, is what police told us. But we are waiting to hear on an official cause of what made the person hit the mailbox.
Yeah, of course. Also new overnight, there's another crash that happened in Fargo, and right now we're just trying to figure out some more answers on this. So it happened just after 11 last night, right on 6th Avenue North, and we know that the car hit a pole. We're told that there were injuries from that crash as well. We might even know some more information about this. I don't know if a press release came in earlier this morning, Scott?
I think we got one just a little bit ago, and so we'll have all that information on our 11 o'clock news, and I will be talking about that throughout the day, I'm sure.
Perfect, yeah. So obviously this is a developing story. You can stick with us on WDAY.
Yep. Another crash to tell you about. This one in Polk County.
So many crashes.
Sent one man to the hospital. Now get this. This was a box truck that stopped too close to railroad tracks and got hit by a train. which is obviously alarming.
Yeah.
It happened around 9 o'clock Tuesday morning. Crash happened near Highway 59, which is south of Winger, Minnesota. The box truck had stopped too close to the train tracks, hit by the train that was traveling south. The truck sustained major damage. Thankfully, the driver, a 58-year-old Minnesota man, just had minor injuries. He was taken to the hospital in Monoman County, but like we said, minor injuries. We're told that he was wearing a seatbelt during the crash.
Okay. Also right now, Fargo Police are still searching for a man who is wanted on multiple felony charges after they tried to arrest him last night and fell short of doing so. They're looking for Tremaine Rainey. He's wanted on felony charges of reckless endangerment and fleeing. So when several officers were called out there, they tried to make an arrest, obviously not successful if they're searching for this guy. They even blocked off an area at around 16th Avenue South and 34th Street. They did tow a car away that we're learning while they were on scene there, and the charges that he's wanted on were actually filed last month after an incident right near NDSU back in October. So if you see him, and you can find a picture of what he looks like on our website, InForum.com, but if you see him, or at Fargo Police's Facebook page or something, but if you see him, don't approach him. Instead, you're just asked to call 911 right away.
New this morning, a Grand Forks man and a woman are facing felony charges after being in possession of fentanyl and methamphetamine. 29-year-old Jeremy Woolsey and 21-year-old Chloe Rand were each charged with Class B felonies in this incident. The pair was stopped in the 4200 block of Demers Avenue in late October. Woolsey got into a fight with a deputy that was on scene. During that fight, he threw a bottle full of pills away from the car. And then during a search after that, a gram of meth was found in the vehicle. Rand, which was the other person, the woman, she was also found to be in possession of fentanyl pills. And if they're convicted on these charges, they could face more than 10 years in prison.
Wow. Also, after being narrowly approved by voters back in November, West Fargo half-cent sales tax is expected to go into effect in just a few months. Speaking of, it'll be around April. Sales tax is going to be used for public safety to add some more personnel and equipment, with the city getting its first funds in May. City leaders are saying that the police department's budget could increase by more than $9 million by 2026, and then the fire department's budget by $3 million. Measure is now going to be presented to the North Dakota State Tax Commissioner for some certification.
Let's talk a little bit about flu season and some of those vaccines. We're talking about vaccination rates against COVID and the flu. They're actually pretty low in Grand Forks County right now as this winter season really kicks into full gear. In the area, about 30% of people there have received the flu vaccine, and about half the people there have completed at least one dose of a COVID vaccine. But only a little over 13% of people in that county have been boosted against those recent variants like Omicron.
Also right now, there are 3 plans being considered to save a Richland County retirement home from closing its doors. So one option would be to involve a private buyer who actually runs the place, or a private buyer who allows the current board to run that facility itself. Biggest issue right now is, of course, money, mainly due to the fact that these people who have been living there have not been charged enough to live there. Average person who lives there right now is paying about $1,000 a month. Other retirement homes in the area are charging around $4,500 to $8,500. There's barely enough money to pay the 17 staff members who work there, and right now volunteers are basically running the place, we know. And a fundraiser will be held on Saturday, December 10th at the Knights of Columbus Hall in Litterwood. Doors open at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and Dakota Estates will stay open throughout March.
Today, on the national scale, the Senate is expected to vote to force rail workers to accept a tentative deal and avoid a strike. So while we're talking about nurses' strikes in Minnesota, nationwide railroad strike could be happening. We'll see how this transpires. But this is all happening after the House approved a measure to end a long-running railroad labor dispute, while also backing a proposal to impose 7 days of paid sick leave. All this as President Joe Biden urged lawmakers to work quickly to head off this potential strike because it could be devastating to the economy and that supply chain that we've all been talking about for so long. House lawmakers voted in favor of binding companies and workers to a proposed settlement that was reached in September, but rejected by 12 of those unions that are involved in this thing. Lawmakers did approve some sick leave on this thing, so both measures are now headed to the Senate, where they're going to need 60 votes to advance the legislation.
Also, here's a good story. It's a feel-good story. We always love sharing these with you.
Yeah.
So Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, we all know who that is. I mean, who doesn't know who
The
that
Rock.
is? Yeah, The Rock, right? He just recently posted a video of himself returning to a Hawaii 7-Eleven store. And he said that he used to steal a king-sized Snickers bar every day, every last king-sized Snickers bar in the store. He used to do this as a teenager, apparently, and then he went back there.
He'd come in, steal a king-size bar, and apparently felt bad about the whole deal.
Yeah, so he felt bad, and then he went there. Decades later, of course, he went back and bought every last king-size Snickers bar in the store, even treated some other customers to their own snacks, which I thought was cool. Transaction may have left the shelves bare. Johnson says he finally got to drive out his chocolate demons.
Yeah,
I
kind
thought
of a
that was
cool
really
story.
funny.
It's
Yeah.
kind of funny that he felt the need to go back there after all these years and make amends. So
that just shows, like, he's such a good person for that. You know, he didn't have to do it. He probably never would have gotten caught, and even if he did, people are like, oh, okay, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
It's like, he stole from my store.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Kind of a feel-good, cool story.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Hot Mike, Dom Izzo. He's going to be on the mic talking all things sports. I'm sure previewing the Bison football game that's this weekend, the big playoff game here in Fargo. That is going to be on WDAY Extra and all different platforms. So check that out, and that's from 9 to 11.
Yeah. Okay, don't forget, for 99 cents a month for your first 3 months, you can get an all-access pass on InForum.com. All you have to do is go on InForum.com/subscribe to get that deal. Again, this might be one of those things that ends right before the new year. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, so make sure you take advantage of it. It's something that we swear by here at WDAY.
Yes, and if you want to get all the latest updates on some of these stories we talked about this morning, the crashes, the nurses' strike, the railroad strike, all these different things, make sure to tune into all of our newscasts throughout the day, 11 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and 9 o'clock.
And 9 o'clock.
Yes.
All the news.
You had almost all of them. But all right, everybody, we will be back here tomorrow morning from 5 to 7. If all things go well, we'll maybe preview a little bit on the World Cup tomorrow.
Yeah.
I should be out live again tomorrow morning, so hope you can join us and stay warm out there.
Yes. Have a good day, folks.
Bye.